What's up, United fans? Welcome back to United HQ Update, your #1 destination for the hottest Manchester United transfer news, tactical breakdowns, and insider updates that you won't find anywhere else. I'm your host, bringing you the latest from Old Trafford, and today we've got some massive stories that could completely reshape Manchester United's future. We're talking about potential departures, dream signings, and the tactical masterclass that Ruben Amorim is building at Old Trafford. In today's episode, we're diving deep into 3 game-changing stories that every United fan needs to know about. First, the Bruno Fernandes bombshell that has the entire football world talking. We'll break down the Saudi Arabia offer that could see our captain leave for a staggering £100 million, plus the Friday deadline that's got everyone on edge. Second, the striker debate that's dividing United fans everywhere, Victor Osimhen versus Victor Gyökeres. We'll reveal the hidden factor that Fabrizio Romano and other top journalists aren't telling you about why one of these superstars might be the perfect fit for Amorim's system. Third, the Pedro Goncalves story that will give you goosebumps. This isn't just about replacing Bruno, it's about a player who literally cried when Amorim left Sporting, and why their reunion at Old Trafford could be the most emotional transfer of the summer. But before we dive into these incredible stories, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because trust me, you don't want to miss a single update from United HQ. We're growing fast and bringing you exclusive content that the big channels won't cover. We're connected with reliable sources, we analyze the reports from Fabrizio Romano, and we give you the real story behind every headline. No clickbait, no false promises, just pure, honest United content that you can trust. Call to action. So grab your favorite United shirt, get comfortable, and let's dive into what could be the most important transfer window in recent United history. The next 20 minutes might just change how you see our club's future. Right then, United fans, let's start with the story that's got every Red Devil holding their breath. Is Bruno Fernandes really leaving Manchester United? The Saudi Arabia transfer that could change everything. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning, grab your coffee, and check your phone for the latest Manchester United news. The first headline you see reads, Bruno Fernandes signs for Al Hilal, £100 million deal complete. How would that make you feel as a United fan? This isn't just a wild dream or nightmare anymore. It's becoming a very real possibility. Bruno Fernandes, the man who wears the captain's armband at Old Trafford, might be packing his bags for Saudi Arabia sooner than any of us expected. What's really happening behind the scenes? Let's start with the facts. Al Hilal, one of the biggest clubs in Saudi Arabia, want Bruno Fernandes badly. How badly? They're willing to pay Manchester United around £100 million to get him. That's serious money, even for a club like United. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just about Al Hilal throwing money around. Bruno's agent has actually flown to Saudi Arabia to hold talks with the club. When agents start traveling to different countries for meetings, you know things are getting serious. The Saudi club isn't messing about either. They're prepared to offer Bruno a contract that would almost triple his current wages at United. Right now, Bruno earns about £250,000 per week at Old Trafford. Al Hilal are ready to offer him much more than that. We're talking about a 3-year deal worth around £180 million in total. Think about that for a moment. £180 million over 3 years. That's life-changing money, even for someone who's already wealthy. Could you really blame Bruno if he decided to take it? Why would Bruno even consider leaving? This is the question every United fan is asking right now. Bruno has been one of our best players since he arrived from Sporting Lisbon in 2020. He's scored goals, created chances, and shown real leadership on the pitch. He's the captain of Manchester United. Why would he want to leave? Well, let's be honest about United's situation. The team has struggled in recent years. This season, Bruno scored 19 goals and provided 20 assists, but United still didn't have the kind of season fans were hoping for. Playing in a struggling team can be frustrating for any player, especially one with Bruno's talent and ambition. There's also his age to consider. Bruno is 30 years old now. While that's not old for a footballer, it's an age where players start thinking about their future more seriously. The Saudi Arabian League offers him a chance to earn huge money while he's still at his peak. But money isn't everything, right? Bruno has always seemed committed to United. He's spoken about loving the club and wanting to help bring success back to Old Trafford. So why is this Saudi offer even being considered? What does Ruben Amorim think about all this? Here's where things get really interesting. Ruben Amorim, United's current manager, doesn't want to lose his captain. That much is clear. Amorim has made it known that he wants Bruno to stay at the club. But here's the thing about football and business. Sometimes what the manager wants and what actually happens are two different things. Amorim might want to keep Bruno, but if the player decides he wants to leave, there's not much the manager can do about it. The reports suggest that United's bosses have left the decision up to Bruno himself. That's quite telling, isn't it? It shows that the club isn't desperately trying to keep him at all costs. They're basically saying, Bruno, it's your choice. If you want to go, we won't stand in your way. This approach makes sense from a business point of view. If Bruno really wants to leave, forcing him to stay might not be the best idea. An unhappy player rarely performs at their best. Plus, £100 million is a lot of money that could be used to strengthen other areas of the team. Enter Pedro Goncalves, the replacement plan. So what happens if Bruno does decide to take the Saudi money and run? Well, United aren't sitting around hoping for the best. They already have a replacement in mind, Pedro Goncalves. Who is Pedro Goncalves, you might ask? He's a 26-year-old Portuguese midfielder who currently plays for Sporting Lisbon. Sound familiar? That's the same club Bruno came from when he joined United. Here's what makes the story even more interesting. Pedro Goncalves was actually signed by Sporting to replace Bruno when Bruno left for United back in 2020. So in a way, he's already proven he can fill Bruno's shoes at club level. But there's more. Ruben Amorim knows Goncalves very well. In fact, Amorim was the manager who transformed Goncalves from a regular midfielder into a deadly attacking player. Under Amorim's guidance at Sporting, Goncalves scored 23 goals and provided 4 assists in 32 games during the season when Sporting won their first Portuguese title in 19 years. That's impressive stuff. It shows that Goncalves can perform at the highest level and that he responds well to Amorim's coaching methods. If United do need to replace Bruno, Goncalves seems like a smart choice. The money side of things. Let's talk numbers for a moment, because they're quite important in this story. If Bruno leaves for £100 million, that gives United serious money to spend on replacements. Sporting Lisbon value Goncalves at around £70 million. That means United would still have £30 million left over to strengthen other areas of the team. From a pure business perspective, this makes sense. United would be replacing a 30-year-old player with a 26-year-old player, getting someone who's 4 years younger and potentially has his best years ahead of him. Plus, they'd have extra money to spend elsewhere. But here's something interesting that many people don't know. Sporting Lisbon will actually make money if Bruno leaves United. When Bruno moved from Sporting to United in 2020, Sporting negotiated a clever deal. They get 10% of any profit United make when they eventually sell Bruno. Bruno originally cost United about £47 million. If he leaves for £100 million, that's a profit of £53 million. 10% of that would give Sporting about £5.3 million. Not bad for a player they sold 5 years ago. What about other players Sporting might lose? Here's where things get complicated for everyone involved. Pedro Goncalves isn't the only Sporting player that other clubs want. Viktor Gyökeres, their Swedish striker, is also attracting attention from big clubs like Arsenal and Napoli. He's valued at around £67 million. Sporting won't want to lose both Goncalves and Gyökeres in the same summer. They've just won the Portuguese title again, and losing 2 of their best players would be a massive blow. This could make negotiations for Goncalves more difficult if United do decide to make a move. There's also competition for Goncalves from other clubs. Before he got injured earlier this season, Aston Villa and Bayer Leverkusen were both interested in signing him. If United want him, they might have to move quickly and pay the asking price. The timing of everything. One thing that makes this whole situation more urgent is the timing. Al Hilal reportedly want an answer from Bruno by Friday. That's not a lot of time to make such a big decision. The Saudi club want to complete the deal quickly because of the Club World Cup. They're looking to strengthen their squad before the tournament, and Bruno would be a massive signing for them. This tight deadline puts pressure on everyone involved. Bruno has to decide quickly whether he wants to take the money and move to Saudi Arabia. United have to be ready with their replacement plans if he decides to leave. And Sporting Lisbon need to prepare for potentially losing one of their best players. What do the experts think? Not everyone thinks United should fight to keep Bruno. Paul Scholes, a United legend, has said that £100 million is too good to turn down. He thinks United would be foolish not to sell Bruno for that amount of money. Scholes has a point. £100 million is a lot of money, even in today's inflated transfer market. For a 30-year-old player, it's especially good value. United could use that money to buy 2 or 3 quality players instead of keeping one aging star. But other people disagree. They point out that Bruno has been one of United's most consistent performers in recent years. He's the captain, he knows the Premier League, and he's still playing at a high level. Replacing him won't be easy, even with someone as talented as Pedro Goncalves. The bigger picture for United. This potential transfer raises bigger questions about United's direction as a club. Are they building for the future or trying to keep hold of their current stars? Are they willing to take risks with new signings, or do they prefer the safety of keeping proven players? If United let Bruno leave and sign Goncalves, it would show they're thinking long-term. They'd be getting a younger player who could improve under Amorim's coaching. But it would also be a risk, because Goncalves has never played in the Premier League before. The Premier League is different from the Portuguese league. It's faster, more physical, and more competitive. Many players who look great in other leagues struggle when they come to England. There's no guarantee that Goncalves would be as successful as Bruno has been. What this means for United fans. As a United fan, how should you feel about all this? It's natural to be worried about losing your captain and one of your best players. Bruno has been a bright spot during some difficult years for the club. But maybe this could also be seen as an opportunity. United haven't been good enough in recent years. Maybe selling Bruno and using the money to rebuild the team could actually help in the long run. Pedro Goncalves is young, talented, and already knows how to work with Ruben Amorim. He could be exactly what United need to move forward. Plus, having £100 million to spend on transfers would give United options they might not otherwise have. The Saudi Arabian factor. We can't ignore the bigger picture here either. Saudi Arabian clubs have been spending massive amounts of money to attract top players to their league. They've already signed players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, and N'Golo Kanté. Bruno wouldn't be the first big name to make this move, and he certainly won't be the last. The Saudi clubs have almost unlimited money, and they're not afraid to use it. This puts European clubs in a difficult position when trying to keep their best players. Some people criticize players for taking the Saudi money instead of staying in Europe to compete at the highest level. But can you really blame them? The money being offered is often impossible to refuse, and players have relatively short careers to earn as much as they can. What happens next? Right now, everyone is waiting for Bruno's decision. Will he stay at United and continue trying to bring success back to Old Trafford? Or will he take the massive payday and start a new adventure in Saudi Arabia? If he stays, United fans can breathe a sigh of relief and hope that this whole situation motivates the team to have a better season next year. If he leaves, United will need to move quickly to sign Pedro Goncalves or another replacement before the new season starts. Either way, this story shows how quickly things can change in modern football. One day Bruno is United's captain and key player, the next day he might be gone. That's just the reality of the sport today. The final verdict. Whatever happens with Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United will survive. The club is bigger than any individual player, even one as important as their current captain. If Bruno leaves, it will be sad for the fans who have enjoyed watching him play, but it might also open up new possibilities for the team. Pedro Goncalves could be the perfect replacement, or he could struggle to adapt to English football. We won't know until it happens. But one thing is certain, if United do sign him, he'll have the full support of Ruben Amorim, who knows exactly how to get the best out of him. The next few days will be crucial in determining United's direction for the upcoming season. Will they be saying goodbye to their captain, or will Bruno decide that his future still lies at Old Trafford? What do you think Bruno should do? Should he take the money and run, or stay and help United get back to the top? Whatever happens, it's going to be an interesting summer for Manchester United fans. The only thing we can do now is wait and see what Bruno decides. One thing is for sure, this story isn't over yet, and the ending could change everything for Manchester United's future. The hidden reason why Victor Osimhen might be better for Manchester United than Victor Gyökeres. Manchester United fans are used to disappointment. We have watched our team struggle to find a reliable striker for years now. Every transfer window brings new hope, new names, and new possibilities. But somehow, the goals just never come consistently enough. Right now, two names keep coming up whenever United fans talk about strikers. Victor Osimhen from Galatasaray and Victor Gyökeres from Sporting CP. Both are 26 years old. Both score goals for fun. Both would probably improve our attack immediately. But here is something most people are not talking about. There might be a hidden advantage that Osimhen has over Gyökeres. It is not about goals scored or assists made. It is about something much more important for a club like Manchester United. Why United need a striker so badly. Let me paint you a picture of how bad things have been at Old Trafford. When was the last time United had a striker who could guarantee you 20 to 25 goals every season? You have to go back to 2022 when Marcus Rashford scored 30 goals under Erik ten Hag. Before that, it was Cristiano Ronaldo with 24 goals in his return season. Since then, what have we had? Rasmus Højlund arrived from Atlanta with big hopes in 2023. The poor lad has looked lost more often than not. He tries hard, no doubt about that. But trying hard and being good enough for Manchester United are two very different things. The numbers tell the whole story. United have had their worst Premier League finishes in recent years. Is it a coincidence that this happened when our strikers stopped scoring? I do not think so. Bruno Fernandes has been playing as a false nine in some games. Think about that for a moment. Our creative midfielder is being asked to lead the line because we cannot trust our actual strikers to do the job. That is not normal for a club like United. The two main candidates. So who are the two players everyone is talking about? Let me introduce you to our potential saviors. Victor Gyökeres plays for Sporting CP in Portugal. This season, he has been absolutely incredible. We are talking about 54 goals across all competitions. That is not a typo. 54 goals. The man is a goal machine. What makes Gyökeres even more appealing is his connection to Ruben Amorim. They work together at Sporting, and Amorim knows exactly how to get the best out of him. When a manager already knows how to use a player, it makes the transition much easier. Then we have Victor Osimhen. He is currently on loan at Galatasaray from Napoli. His numbers this season are good but not as crazy as Gyökeres. We are looking at 37 goals across all competitions. Still very good, but not quite at the same level. On paper, you might think the choice is obvious. Gyökeres has better numbers and already knows the manager. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast. The numbers do not tell the whole story. Here is where things get interesting. Football is not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. If it was, transfers would be much easier. But there are so many other factors that matter just as much. Think about the pressure that comes with playing for Manchester United. This is not just any football club. This is one of the biggest clubs in the world. Every move you make is watched by millions of fans. Every goal you miss is analyzed on social media. Every bad performance is front-page news. Not every player can handle that pressure. We have seen it before. Players who looked amazing at smaller clubs but crumbled when they put on the United shirt. The pressure got to them. So the question becomes, which player is better prepared for that pressure? Which one has already proven they can perform when the whole world is watching? Why Napoli matters more than Sporting. This is where Osimhen starts to look more interesting. Let me explain why his time at Napoli might be more valuable than people realize. Napoli is a massive club in Italy. They might not be as big as Juventus or AC Milan globally, but in Naples, they are everything. The fans live and breathe for that club. Diego Maradona played there and became a god. That creates a special kind of pressure. When Osimhen joined Napoli, they had not won the league for 33 years. 33 years. Imagine carrying that weight on your shoulders. The whole city was desperate for success. Every game mattered. Every goal was crucial. And what did Osimhen do? He delivered. His 26 goals helped Napoli win their first league title since Maradona was there. He handled the pressure and came through when it mattered most. Compare that to Gyökeres at Sporting. Do not get me wrong, Sporting is a good club with a proud history. Cristiano Ronaldo came from there, which is incredible. But the pressure is different. Sporting had won the league just 2 seasons before Gyökeres arrived. The weight of history was not as heavy. Serie A versus Portuguese League. There is another factor to consider. The quality of the leagues these players have performed in. Serie A in Italy is considered one of the top leagues in Europe. The defending is tough. The tactical awareness is high. Players have to be at their absolute best every week just to survive. The Portuguese league is good, but it is not at the same level as Serie A. There are fewer world-class defenders. The tactical setups are not as complex. It is a bit easier to score goals there. This matters because the Premier League is probably even tougher than Serie A. If a player can succeed in Italy, they have a better chance of succeeding in England. It shows they can adapt to high-level competition. The pressure test. Let me ask you a question. If you were Ruben Amorim, what would worry you more? A player who has never played under real pressure, or a player who has been tested and proven himself when it mattered most? Osimhen has been in those moments where everything depends on you. He has felt the pressure of an entire city on his shoulders. He has delivered when millions of people were counting on him. Gyökeres has never been in that situation. His success at Sporting has been great, but it has not come with the same level of pressure. He has not had to carry a club to their first title in decades. Which player do you trust more when United are 1-0 down at home to Manchester City with 10 minutes to go? The one who has delivered in pressure moments before, or the one who has mostly played in a more comfortable environment? What about the Amorim connection? Now, I am not saying the connection between Gyökeres and Amorim does not matter. It absolutely does. When a player already knows how a manager wants to play, it makes everything easier. Amorim knows exactly where to play Gyökeres. He knows what kind of service he needs. He knows how to motivate him. That is a huge advantage, especially in the first season together. But here is the thing about Manchester United. The pressure here is different from anywhere else. Even if you know the manager and the system, you still have to deal with playing at Old Trafford. You still have to handle the media attention. You still have to perform when 75,000 people are watching your every move. Some players thrive under that pressure. Others freeze up. The only way to know for sure is to see how they have handled similar situations before. Recent form versus proven track record. Gyökeres is having an incredible season right now. Nobody can argue with 54 goals. Those are video game numbers in real life. But football seasons are long. Form goes up and down. The question is, what happens when Gyökeres hits a rough patch? What happens when he goes 5 games without scoring and the pressure starts building? Osimhen has been through those moments. He has had difficult periods and come out the other side. He has shown mental strength when things got tough. That kind of experience might be more valuable than people realize. Football is as much about mental strength as it is about technical ability. At the highest level, everyone is talented. What separates the great players from the good ones is how they handle adversity. The age factor. Both players are 26 years old, which is perfect for United. They are old enough to be mature and experienced, but young enough to give us several years of peak performance. This means we are not choosing between a young prospect and an experienced veteran. We are choosing between 2 players who are right in their prime. Age is not a factor in this decision. That makes other factors even more important. Since we cannot choose based on age or potential, we have to look at things like mentality, pressure handling, and track record in big moments. What United fans should consider. As United fans, we have seen enough expensive signings fail to know that stats are not everything. Remember when we thought Alexis Sanchez would be amazing because of his Arsenal numbers? Remember how excited we were about Anthony Martial initially? Sometimes the player who looks less impressive on paper ends up being more successful. Sometimes experience and mentality matter more than pure goal tallies. This does not mean Osimhen is definitely better than Gyökeres. Both players could be successful at United. But it does mean we should think about more than just goal statistics when we evaluate these transfers. The financial reality. Of course, there is also the money side of things. Both players will be expensive, but there might be differences in how much they cost and how much they earn. Osimhen is currently owned by Napoli but on loan at Galatasaray. His contract situation might make him available for the right price. Gyökeres is under contract at Sporting and having the season of his life. That usually means a higher price tag. United have to be smart with money these days. We cannot just spend whatever we want anymore. Getting the right player for the right price is crucial. But here is my view. If both players cost similar amounts, the one with more experience handling pressure might be the better investment. A slightly lower goal tally but higher success rate in big moments could be more valuable in the long run. Making the right choice. So what should United do? Both players would improve our attack immediately. Both are the right age. Both have proven they can score goals consistently. But if I had to choose, I would lean toward the player who has already proven he can handle the biggest pressure. I would choose the one who has delivered when everything was on the line. Football at Manchester United is different from football anywhere else. The expectations are higher. The criticism is louder. The pressure is constant. We need a player who will not crumble when things get difficult. We need someone who will score the important goals in the important moments. We need a striker who can carry the weight of this massive club on their shoulders. The bottom line. Viktor Gyökeres has had an incredible season. His numbers are amazing and his connection with Amorim is valuable. He would probably score a lot of goals for United. But Victor Osimhen has something that might be even more important. He has proven he can deliver when the pressure is at its highest. He has shown he can handle the weight of expectation at a massive club. In a perfect world, we could sign both players and let them compete for the striker position. But in the real world, we probably have to choose one. When that time comes, United should think about more than just goal statistics. They should think about which player is most likely to succeed when the pressure is on. They should choose the one who has already proven they can deliver in the biggest moments. Because at Manchester United, every moment feels like the biggest moment. And we need a striker who is ready for that challenge. What do you think? Are goals and familiarity with the manager more important, or does experience handling pressure at big clubs matter more? The choice United make this summer could define the next few years at Old Trafford. Could Pedro Goncalves be the perfect Bruno Fernandes replacement at Manchester United? Picture this. Bruno Fernandes packs his bags for Saudi Arabia, leaving Manchester United fans wondering who could possibly fill the massive void left by their captain and creative genius. The answer might already be playing under Ruben Amorim's watchful eye at Sporting CP. Enter Pedro Goncalves, a player who once cried when Amorim left Sporting, and who might just be the key to United's midfield future. The Amorim connection runs deep. When Ruben Amorim walked through the doors at Old Trafford, he didn't just bring his tactical knowledge with him. He brought memories of players who understood his system inside and out. Pedro Goncalves, affectionately known as Pote by Sporting fans, is one of those players who knows exactly what Amorim expects. But this isn't just about tactics. The relationship between Amorim and Goncalves goes far beyond the football pitch. When Amorim announced his departure from Sporting to join Manchester United, Goncalves was devastated. The Portuguese midfielder didn't hide his emotions, breaking down in tears at the thought of losing his mentor. "I wouldn't be here today without him," Goncalves revealed in an emotional interview. These aren't just empty words from a player trying to impress. They come from someone who genuinely credits Amorim with transforming his career and life. The bond between them was special. Amorim wasn't just a coach to Goncalves. He was someone who cared about the player as a person, not just as a footballer. "We had a very strong bond, both professionally and personally," Goncalves explained. "He liked my wife very much and was concerned about my well-being, both on the field and in my family life." This kind of relationship is rare in modern football. In a world where players often switch clubs and coaches without batting an eyelid, finding someone who genuinely cares about your personal happiness is precious. Amram knew when his players were happy or sad, and he always seemed to know exactly what to say to lift their spirits. Why United are looking at Goncalves now. So why is Manchester United suddenly interested in bringing Goncalves to Old Trafford? The answer is simple: Bruno Fernandes might be leaving. The United captain has been linked with a big money move to Saudi Arabia. While nothing is confirmed yet, the possibility is real enough for United to start looking at replacements. And who better to replace Fernandes than someone who literally replaced him at Sporting 5 years ago? When United signed Fernandes from Sporting in January 2020, Sporting needed someone to fill the creative void. They turned to Goncalves, who was playing for Famalicão at the time. The move worked perfectly. Goncalves adapted to Sporting style and became a key player under Amram's guidance. Now, 5 years later, history might repeat itself. United could sign Goncalves to replace Fernandes, just like Sporting did back in 2020. It would be a perfect circle, with Amram reuniting with a player he knows and trusts completely. What makes Goncalves special? But what exactly would Goncalves bring to Manchester United? Is he just a cheaper version of Bruno Fernandes, or does he have his own unique qualities? First, let's talk about his goal-scoring record. In the 2020-21 season, Goncalves scored an incredible 23 league goals from midfield. To put that in perspective, that's more than Fernandes ever scored in a single season for Sporting. It was a remarkable achievement that announced Goncalves as one of Europe's most promising attacking midfielders. Goncalves is comfortable playing in multiple positions across the midfield and attack. Under Amram, he often played as a number 10, similar to how Fernandes operates for United. But he's also effective on the wings or even as a false 9 when needed. This versatility would give Amram tactical flexibility that could prove valuable throughout a long season. His playing style has clear similarities to Fernandes. Both players love to create chances for their teammates, both have an eye for goal, and both aren't afraid to try ambitious passes that might not always come off. However, Goncalves tends to be more direct in his approach, while Fernandes sometimes prefers to slow down the tempo and pick his moment. The Portuguese midfielder also has a strong work rate and isn't afraid to track back and help defensively. This fits perfectly with Amram's demanding tactical system, which requires every player to contribute both in attack and defense. The numbers tell a story. Let's look at the facts and figures. Despite dealing with injuries last season, Goncalves still managed 12 goal contributions in just 20 games. That's a pretty impressive return for someone who wasn't fully fit for most of the campaign. Over his time at Sporting, Goncalves has consistently delivered when it matters. He's scored crucial goals in big matches and has a knack for stepping up when his team needs him most. These are exactly the qualities United need in their midfield. His injury problems last season might actually work in United's favor from a financial perspective. While Sporting are demanding his full release clause of £67 million, many experts believe his actual market value is closer to half that amount. If United can negotiate a lower fee, it could represent excellent value for money. The emotional factor. Football isn't just about tactics and statistics. Sometimes, the emotional side of the game matters just as much. The way Goncalves reacted to Amram's departure tells us everything we need to know about their relationship. "He was like a father to us," Goncalves said about Amram. "We were sad, but we understood. I wish him the best of luck." These words show the deep respect and affection the player has for his former manager. This emotional connection could be crucial if United decide to make a move. Goncalves would be joining a club where he knows the manager believes in him completely. There would be no settling in period, no time wasted trying to understand what the coach wants. He already knows Amram's methods inside and out. For a player moving to a new league and a new country, having that familiar face in charge could make all the difference. The Premier League is tough, and many talented players have struggled to adapt. But with Amram guiding him, Goncalves would have the best possible chance of success. What are the challenges? Of course, signing Goncalves wouldn't be without its challenges. The biggest obstacle is the price tag. Sporting are demanding £67 million for their star player, which seems excessive for someone coming off an injury-hit season. United have already spent heavily in recent transfer windows, and they need to be smart with their money. Paying full price for Goncalves might not represent good value, especially when there are other areas of the squad that also need attention. There's also the question of whether Goncalves can handle the pressure of replacing a player as important as Bruno Fernandes. The United captain isn't just a great player, he's a leader and an inspiration to his teammates. Stepping into those shoes would be a massive challenge for anyone. The Premier League is also a different beast compared to the Portuguese league. While Goncalves has proven himself in Portugal and in European competitions, the intensity and physicality of English football might take some getting used to. The broader picture. United's interest in Goncalves is part of a bigger trend. Ever since Amram arrived at Old Trafford, the club has been linked with several of his former Sporting players. Victor Gyökeres, Giovanni Quenda, Francisco Trincao, Goncalo Inacio, and Morten Julmand have all been mentioned as possible targets. This makes sense from a tactical perspective. These players already understand Amram's system and wouldn't need time to adapt. But United need to be careful not to just turn into Sporting Manchester. The Premier League requires a different level of quality, and not every player who succeeds in Portugal will automatically succeed in England. The key is identifying which players have the right combination of talent, mentality, and adaptability to make the step up. Based on his track record and his relationship with Amram, Goncalves seems like a good candidate. What happens next? So what's likely to happen with this potential transfer? Right now, everything depends on Bruno Fernandes' decision about his future. If the United captain decides to take the Saudi money and leave Old Trafford, then Goncalves becomes a realistic target. United would probably try to negotiate the price down from the full £67 million release clause. Given Goncalves' injury problems last season and the fact that he's holding off on signing a new contract with Sporting, there might be room for negotiation. If Fernandes stays at United, then the Goncalves move becomes much less likely. United wouldn't need another attacking midfielder, and the money would probably be better spent in other areas of the squad. The fan perspective. From a United fan's point of view, how should they feel about this potential signing? On one hand, Goncalves has proven himself to be a talented player who knows how to work under Amram. He could provide the creativity and goal threat that United would miss if Fernandes leaves. On the other hand, there are legitimate concerns about whether he's worth the asking price and whether he can handle the pressure of playing for one of the world's biggest clubs. United fans have seen too many expensive signings fail to live up to expectations. The smart approach is probably cautious optimism. If United can get Goncalves for a reasonable price and if he can adapt quickly to English football, he could be an excellent signing. But paying top dollar for him would be a risk that might not pay off. Looking to the future. Whether or not United sign Pedro Goncalves this summer, his story highlights the important role that personal relationships play in football transfers. The bond between Amram and his former players is clearly strong, and it could influence United's transfer strategy for years to come. For Goncalves himself, a move to Old Trafford would represent the chance of a lifetime. Playing in the Premier League, working with Amram again, and potentially replacing one of the league's best players would be the ultimate test of his abilities. The bottom line. Pedro Goncalves might not be a household name for many Manchester United fans, but he could be exactly what the club needs if Bruno Fernandes decides to leave. His combination of talent, work rate, and tactical understanding makes him an interesting option. The emotional connection with Amram adds an extra dimension to this potential transfer. In a sport where relationships between players and coaches often seem purely professional, the genuine bond between these two stands out. Whether United decide to make a move for Goncalves will ultimately depend on several factors: Fernandes' decision about his future, Sporting's willingness to negotiate on price, and United's assessment of whether the Portuguese midfielder can handle the step up to the Premier League. One thing is certain though. If this transfer does happen, it will be one of the most emotionally charged moves of the summer. A player reuniting with the manager who shaped his career at one of the biggest clubs in the world, with the chance to replace a legend. That's the kind of story that makes football special. The question for United fans is simple. Would you welcome Pedro Goncalves with open arms? Or do you think the club should look elsewhere for Bruno's replacement? Either way, this summer promises to be very interesting indeed.